What is the true key to manifest anything that you desire? Stay tuned. Ever since I found the work of Neville Goddard, everything has changed. So everything I'm sharing is what I've been learning with the law of assumption taught by Neville Goddard, with my own little spin and what seems to be working for me. So when I first found his work, I went nuts with like robotic affirming and my vision board and, all the different techniques that I wanted to use that I thought was going to help me get into the state of my wish fulfilled. But to be honest with you, the 3D was triggering me so much. I was constantly looking for, my manifestation out in the 3D world. And I felt very neurotic, to be honest with you. There were moments where I felt like I was just kind of out of control. And looking back, I think I was just so in my ego, so in this control state of, well, I can have anything I want because I'm the operant power and, I can do this and I can do this. And it was very neurotic. So I obviously got to a point where I was like, okay, well, this LOA thing, this law of assumption thing is not working. It doesn't work. Neville doesn't know what he's talking about. And I was ready to give up. And then the most profound thing happened. I realized that the issue is this missing key that most people don't realize when it comes to the law of assumption and the law. I mean, obviously the law of attraction is the basic same thing, right? It's all different semantics, but it's teaching the law, okay? This law, this oneness, this force, this energy that we are leveraging to create our reality. Are you ready to find out what this secret key ingredient is? It's knowing that life is a paradox. Once you know that life is a paradox, and we're going to talk about why it is a paradox. Once you realize that it's a paradox, every single spiritual teaching that you learn, no matter where it's from, whether it's Neville teaching it or something else, you're going to realize that it has a second side to it, because every single thought or idea or perspective or paradigm, at the very same time it's real, the opposite is real. And I'm going to give you an example so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Once I realized that I was missing that key ingredient, that it's a paradox, that's when I started to really unpack it in a better way. And I was able to start to mold my own rules. That's the key. See, you are this conscious creator, right? And you are consciousness, right? You are just pure awareness, pure love. But you also have this ego identity, and you're also putting that pure love, that pure consciousness in this really cool story of the Earth experiment where you're playing this human character, and you've got an ego, and you've got wants and desires and needs, and you have emotions, and you're human, And so it's so much more than just focus on what you want and you'll get it. You have to unpack those emotions. There's so much more to it, right? And so the advanced level is realizing that in order to be two things at once, you have to surf the paradox. You have to realize that you're human and your awareness. I found this mostly with the concept that everyone is you pushed out. So let's really talk about that. And this will kind of be the analogy for this video. So with everyone is you pushed out, the concept of that Neville teaches is that you are pure consciousness, right? And there's really nothing outside of you is real. It's all this kind of fun Earth experiment that we're playing. Some like to say it's a simulation, right? But really everything outside of you, matter, which is just 3D, right? You are consciousness. You're so much more than matter, right? You are the quantum field. You expand to the quantum field. Anything's possible with consciousness, with awareness, with beingness, right? So there's this expansion of this consciousness, this quantum field, anything is possible. And then there's the 3D matter, right? And so what I realized was that obviously once I learned the concept from Neville, that every single relationship I have and every single thing I'm experiencing is really a mirror to me. And that if I want to go change the 3D, I need to change me. Similar to saying, if I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to see that I need lipstick, I'm not going to put the lipstick on the mirror. I'm going to put the lipstick on me, right? So it's the same concept. So that is 100% true. Everyone is you pushed out. And once you start to change your assumptions about that person or change your assumptions about whatever you're looking at in the outer world and judging it, when you change your assumptions about it, it will change, right? And that is true. However, because life is a paradox, it's also not true. Yes, both things can exist at the same time. And so what I found is that you really have to understand your personality, okay? Because a lot of times there's people on this side of the paradox or the pendulum swing or the polarity of this 3D world, right? There's these people over here that are barely taking responsibility for themselves. They're not even looking inward at all, right? They're just like blaming the outside constantly. And then there's these people over here that are completely obsessed with coaching themselves. They're completely obsessed with changing themselves. They're so worried that it's them, right? They're constantly looking outside of themselves and saying, this is messed up. It must be my fault. You know, it's all an attraction. It's law of assumption. And like, I'm creating my reality and it's all my fault. And then they're playing victim and they're starting to shame themselves and they're starting to yell at themselves and they're just, you know, starting to talk down to themselves because they're like, everyone's me pushed out and, you know, I've got to change myself. And this issue outside of me is all my fault. So I am an A+ student. I am someone who wants to constantly be in a state of curiosity, constantly be in a state of trying to be better, 2% every day. And so I started to fall trap in this side of it. I started to fall trap in the side of, well, if this person's doing this, then it must be my energy. Or if my thing is not manifesting yet, then it must be me, right? And it was really tripping me up. It was tripping me up because I was starting to get so obsessed with doing it wrong, so to speak, that I was actually in a negative state. So there are going to be moments when everyone as you pushed out is not going to put you in a good state. You need to know what you need to shift. That is the key component. To ride the paradox, you need to know, how do I go from this state that I'm in to this state? What do I need? And sometimes some of these rules of law of assumption actually hold you back. So for me, I'm actually currently dating right now on the dating apps. And if I sat there and looked at every single person that I matched with and basically said that their energy is me, I would go nuts, right? I have to tell you that yes, everyone is you pushed out. And yes, you are going to get what your energy is. But there's certain things in your life where it's not going to serve you. It's going to slow you down to start taking responsibility for every freaking thing you receive. If someone's yelling at you and you're like, oh, it must be me, it's just going to slow you down. And so what started to work for me? What started to work for me was to actually go the opposite direction, to ride that paradox, right? To go the opposite direction and say, you know what? In this scenario, they're them completely. I have nothing to do with that energy. I'm freaking incredible. I'm amazing. This is my incredible energy. And I am going to find the people that are aligned to my energy, right? I had to claim that I'm incredible. I had to claim my power and my truth, right? And in a way, I had to go against this idea that everyone is you pushed out. So just notice that sometimes we get so tripped up in the teachings that we forget that we're creating the experience. We get to decide the rules. So the true key to conscious creation is realizing that because we're riding the wave of spiritual energy and we're riding the wave of physical energy and we're in this earth experiment that merges both, we need to ride the paradox. And sometimes we're going to feel like we're going a little nuts because we're going to think that what we need in that moment is kind of counteracting what we needed in the prior moment. And no, it's a paradox. You need two things at once. You need to ride and live within the duality.